can get our chicken.
All right, I see it's 1:30. You ready to start, Rick?
Yes. Great stuff.
All right, we'll start today's meeting of the Meadows Public Utility District's Public Facilities Corporation. This is a special meeting on Friday, February 6th at 1:30 p.m. We'll do roll call
And Rotunda,
here.
Epstein.
Here.
Schroeder. Here. Tucker.
Here.
Thornburg here, all present and accounted for.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 3 on our agenda, which is action items. So 3A is review and approval of the minutes from the December 5th, 2025 special meeting.
Move approval of the minutes.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 3B. This is resolution 26-01, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and certain related actions with respect to installment sale financing for the Kirkland Meadows Public Utility District. Rick.
Yeah, so hang on one second. Let me just pull up this agenda real quick. For the packet. Okay. Hopefully y'all can see that on the screen and also Zoom. So before you is the we've done roll call, I'm sorry, the review and approval of minutes of December 5th, 2025 meeting. Did you do that yet? You did, okay. What happens when you're trying to Zoom at the same time starting the meeting, so I apologize for this. So before you is resolution 26 PFC 0-1, authorizing and directing the execution of documents and certain related actions with respect to installment sale financing for the Kirkland Meadows PUD. Today in the room, we have counsel for the district, Dave Baum and Jones Hall, who maybe Jones, David, if you'd like to step up for a second and to the podium and kind of explain what this resolution is, why we're passing it.
Sure.
In a nutshell, and kind of give the board a recap.
Yeah, so you're financing with USDA the approximately $7 million loan to take out the CoBank interim financing that you entered into a couple of years ago. And CoBank is standing by for the payoff. They extended their loan until May, so you have until then to pay it off. We hope that this is going to be closing April-ish. USDA moves kind of slowly, but the required resolution of the corporation is because the transaction is set up as an installment sale. This is similar to what you did about 10 years ago for your electric, water, and wastewater consolidated financing that we did for you. And what it does is the installment sale agreement, it works like bonds work, but under the laws that you're governed by, it creates a payment stream that is much easier and quicker. And it's something that USDA needs and wants in the structuring of the loan. And so there'll be this resolution of the corporation approving the installment sale agreement and approving the trust agreement. There'll be a flip side that the district approves the same documents because both entities are parties to both of the agreements. So you're authorizing the execution of these documents. I think Rick's looked at them. We're used to drafting these and they're pretty standard, nothing out of the box here. It's currently under USDA review. They take 60 days and that started about 10 days ago. So we think everything's going to go smoothly and they might have a few comments that we need to come back with slight modifications, but the resolutions provide for slight modifications to be made at Rick's discretion, as needed to close the loan. That's basically a summary of it.
Perfect.
Okay.
So what we'll need from the board is basically a motion to approve the resolution.
Any questions from the public on this? Board questions or conversation?
I guess not any issues at all, but just for clarity, I had to refresh my memory from doing this a few years ago. We tend to do these things that are really complex and then we don't do anything with them for years. And then all of a sudden you have to remember.
Mhm.
But, if you look at the interest rate is really attractive. By doing it this way, instead of doing bonds, we're not subject to market volatility. So bond prices going up and down with market conditions. If you look at safety and our ability to make payments, wastewater is a utility that is a fairly stable source of income, meaning we don't see huge fluctuations of that historically, and don't seem overly exposed by that. If there was the inability to make one of the payments on this instrument, it doesn't result in like automatic default or something like that. You can pay out of reserves, you can change your rates, you can catch up, things like that. So there isn't a immediate detrimental effect if you weren't able to meet the payment structure. What else do they have in here? The PFC does hold the plant, so they basically can own the plant as we buy it back.
Own the plant.
Yeah, you might explain that better than I could.
My understanding is that the real and operational asset ownership is still with KMPUD, and the PFC does not own any real assets, but I'm new to this.
Yeah, James, you go ahead. You can explain.
Yeah.
My colleague James.
Yeah, James Brzeziak at Jones Hall as well, work with Dave Baum on this. Director Schroeder is right in that that's what the installment sale structure does, kind of transfers really just the improvements that are being financed here. So it wouldn't be the full plant, but the $7 million of improvements that we're talking about transfers to the PFC, but then the PFC does transfer it back to the district, in exchange for that payment stream that Director Schroeder was talking about. So again, as you all know, you are the board members of the PFC as well as the PUD. So it's kind of two hats, but all under the same ownership governance, all of you.
So it's basically a pass-through financing vehicle.
That's right.
It's a loop to pass the installment payments.
That's right. To facilitate that payment stream that ultimately goes to USDA as your lender, they're the ones putting up the $7 million, as Director Schroeder said, at 1.75%, which is amazing
Yeah.
interest rate.
And that makes it
without market volatility.
Exactly. But but it does require all this paperwork. So, that's to get that payment stream flowing.
Without CoBank involved, is that?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's
CoBank,
the function here is removing CoBank from.
moving CoBank. CoBank was your interim financing, because again, as my colleague, Mr. Fama mentioned, USDA takes a while to come through and they want to see a completed project. That's
Yeah.
why USDA is ready now, because you've completed the project. They don't want to take any construction risk. CoBank is willing to kind of come in up front, loan you that money up front on kind of an interim financing basis.
the entire package makes one single mention of CoBank. I had never heard of CoBank.
Okay.
I assume it doesn't really matter. We don't have a banking relationship per se with CoBank like we do with our others.
When we did this, we applied with USDA RUS, but as stated, they won't loan until the project's completed. So you have to basically get an interim or a construction loan. So with Standish and Eric and I, we ran a process. We used Stifel as an investment banker. We did a bake-off. We got a number of different banks to provide bids. We negotiated. We ended up with CoBank.
Good, that sounds fine. I hadn't heard of the bank and didn't know if it was, I had to,
Yeah.
so that's a fine answer. Thank you.
Yeah. They're just the lender. They'll be out of the deal and you won't need them again.
And Project A, or I think it's called Project A, it defines a really narrow scope. I mean, this whole PFC corporation is really just tightly limited to the wastewater treatment plant improvements, right? So it can't creep to.
For this
other
financing, yeah, you could use it for a different financing down the road, and I think probably Mr. Fama would know better, but you've used it in the past for other financings, but this set of transactions is just for this set of improvements.
Thank you.
The PFC originally, correct me if I'm wrong, was because of just to get it built in the first place many years ago. And so when that is all paid off for the Mello-Roos in a couple, was that 4 years from now or 3 years from now, with the PFC, we would still want to keep the PFC around for these
For this
sorts of,
financing now,
for other
yeah.
sorts of financing that we need to
Correct.
do this sort of structure.
Correct. Yeah. Essentially this financing is a 40-year financing. And as Mr. Fama said, it's between the district and the financing corporation back and forth.
Right.
So it's going to be around for 40 years. But again, there's really no cost or,
Right.
you know.
It's a legal entity essentially.
Exactly. It's just another legal entity that the board controls.
Great, thank you for the clarification. So it's really helpful. Any other board questions or comments?
I move resolution of 26 PFC 01.
There's a movement. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Move on to the next agenda item.
So the next agenda item is essentially just for the board's purview, which is basically the trust agreement, which is just furthering what you just approved. I should say, we've submitted all the information to USDA and basically they made a long request of documents to close the wastewater treatment plant project, which included a project completion letter, a signed outlay report, notice of completion to KG Walters, as well as certifying that we used American Iron and Steel certificate, greenhouse emissions plans, as well as project daily reports. So all this is with Tanya, with Russ right now. We hope that with today's resolutions, we can completely finalize this and close this loan, get things going.
And then what was the final cost of the project?
$6,835,530 and
So
36 cents.
well under the cap.
Yes.
That's good.
And did we eliminate some parts of the project that there were some things we were considering that we chose not to do, right?
As you recall, we were going to demolish, replace a tank. We did not do that.
Yeah.
Any community questions? I don't see any hands up. No in the room. Any board questions?
This will come back after 2:00.
I have one simple question on the trust agreement. I could not figure out who is the trustee? What's the name of the trustee?
Is the general manager.
The signature on that.
Good.
It's one of the nice things about USDA. They don't require like a third party. So you save some costs there.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is I'd like to thank Dave Fama and the organization. You've helped us for many years.
Mhm.
And so we really appreciate the work you put in on our behalf.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
Do we need motions and approvals on C and D?
No, that's
Okay.
That's it. Other than
I will say this is me being neurotic, is that I think I found like 4 or 5 places in the documents that have yellow highlight still that I'm around the places where it was like $7 million. I'm sure it was like a find and replace. If you could, since these are like formal finalized documents they're signing, I think before we do all of that and file this away, it would be nice if we could just.
that was what USDA provided. Both David, myself, and others tried to remove some of those.
Okay,
And so, but we'll certainly clean that.
It'd be
up
nice.
before it's finalized.
it's nice.
Thank you.
40-year documents to
Yeah.
have not look like the
Yeah.
draft formats or something.
Highlights, yeah.
It wasn't even a full, it was
It's just because it was someone's finding a replacement.
a couple of yellow
Yeah,
dots.
that's fine. It's fine.
Fill in the blanks.
Okay, all right, then we will adjourn. We had at our last meeting discussed having a special meeting on Friday, December 4th, because as you might recall, our regular scheduled meetings, I think are like the 3rd week of January, but we were
Correct.
planning on a special meeting December 4th as our next meeting, unless something else comes up. All right, with that, we'll adjourn at 1:43. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.